Thought I'd put this out there since I'm currently doing the clutch on my Mk6 Golf R. That I couldn't find a lot of the ways it's done out there, so I just wanted to point out a few of the things. So down here there is two bolts that are going to be up there. I reached them from the underside of the car. That's for the bevel box. Those two are probably going to be the hardest bolts to actually unbolt. And then you got your ones going around. You got some weird starter bolts that are in there. Disconnect your shifter. You've got the three bolts for the trans mounts, and then your bolts on the bottom. One of the things, and I'll show you guys, I've never gone through and labeled all my parts before, but given the fact that Volkswagen uses multiple different sizes and different pieces, or different, let's see, where is it? This one. Yeah, you got a triple squared, you got some 16s, and just thought I would show how you label them. Or you could take pictures of them to help keep track of everything so they get back in the right spot. Then the next part is you're gonna have to disconnect the axle, and then this pendulum mount, whatever it's called, has to come out as well. A lot of the stuff, what I had to do was I reached my hands up through here to get to those two top bolts over the subframe. Some people say you have to drop the subframe. I'm not doing it for this. And you can see that I'm ready to drop the trans out now. And the one last thing to help keep it a little bit easier, the cables for the shifter, I just left them attached to the bracket and I zip tied it up out of the way. And then with the new line, I just ran it up here, and if you zip tie it, then you won't have to worry about your fluid leaking out since it is higher than the master cylinder. Okay, I'm going to show you this stupid ass thing that you got to do on your Mk6s. I only found one person that kind of showed this. So anyway, you have to get that, I don't know, whatever that axle nub is, and that hole that's going in there, the only thing that you can fit is a 1/4 inch drive 6mm bit. So, and then everyone says, oh yeah, they're not very tight. You can feel this, at least I could, bending with all the torque. None of my electric impacts could get that out. So what I had to do was put a bolt that back in it, and then it's just kind of, if I can get a good lighting on it, it's wedged against that bracket. That's the only way I could get this. So basically, go to, if you don't already have, I know the lighting sucks on this. Oh yeah, see, there you go. There's the bolt. I'll show you what you gotta use. So here you go. This is an 18-inch long extension from Harbor Freight, and then I had to adapt it up to a 1/4 of an inch just because I didn't like torquing on that, or sorry, 3/8 of an inch, because I didn't like torquing on that 1/4 of an inch. So basically what you want to do is just go and get a set like this, because these ones will also allow you to get to your axle bolts. And this 6mm has to be a 6mm 1/4 drive, otherwise this is too big and a 3/8 will never fit. So here's the next tip that I learned from a friend of mine that I met while looking for help on this, and that is the bracket that goes to the bevel box. And once you have it removed, I recommend trimming that upper right corner. You can kind of see the difference between the before and after of these two brackets. Or in order to remove the bevel box, you have to undo the turbo oil drain. So be ready to drain all of the oil out of your oil pan. Okay, so this is a Mk6 rear main seal. You can see down at the bottom it's a little wet. Obviously the seal has started failing, as I've heard it's a common problem. So I've already taken out all the bolts around the edges here. All these bolts around here. So all we're going to do, and then there's two from the bottom. So we'll pry that. And I have a billet one with a different rear main. And I'll show you the difference once I pull this piece off. Okay, so here's the rear main. You can see like it's a composite. That's why it's got these brass inserts, so that when you tighten the bolts down, they bottom out on those and don't crack it. And it's got this gasket material that goes along here, and I didn't have a whole lot, as you can see, of gasket maker on the bottom of it, but it looks like it's all one piece, or like it was insert molded or something. I'm not sure. Either way, not a great design. This one is your more traditional seal, where you can see it's actually got that spring to provide a constant tension around there. So what we will do is, these don't stay in here. These are just basically set screws that have little hex in there that once we put it on, we'll seal that into place, and then we'll come back. Or actually, I'll press this seal in first, and then I'll focus on making sure I just get this lip of this seal, because you don't want it to fold out. And then we'll thread these pieces in there, these pieces in here, and then tighten down the nuts onto it. And I'm just going to use a regular Permatex Ultra Black to seal this up. And here's what it'll look like when you get this all cleaned up. You just want to make sure your mating surfaces are very clean when we're doing that, and try not to drop anything down into that oil pan, because that is going to cause problems. So I'll show you what it looks like. You don't need to watch me apply Permatex in a bead and then just push it into place. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Okay, so I got it installed. It was a bit messy, so my RTV on the bottom doesn't look the greatest, but basically what I did was press the seal into this plate, put the RTV all the way around, and then I kind of worked the bottom on and then pushed the top over the edge, making sure that this inside of the seal sits right. Then you just finger tight all of these, insert these two studs using a Allen wrench, and then you just finger tight all of them, because you have to let this set up for an hour and then tighten them all down. I used 6.7 foot-pounds, and which is about 80 inch-pounds. Tighten it all down, and now the flywheel is ready to go on. So here's the flywheel. Luckily for a twin disc, you can basically just stick a pry bar across, and that's even what their directions say, which their directions are by far the best directions I've ever seen. They have pictures of every single step, probably because it's a twin disc. But we'll put this in, we'll clean off this surface. Here's one of the discs. Big benefit to this kit, in my opinion, is that it is an organic disc, which means it's going to be a lot more streetable, but you can see they're not sprung discs, so engagement might be rather abrupt. However, the pad material should help with that, and that it's a full face disc. So here's the rest of the clutch pack. You don't do any disassembly of this, you just clean this side and clean this side, torque everything down, and then it's all done. And I'll show you what it looks like when I've got it all in there. right, there's the flywheel torque down. This kit comes with ARP bolts to do that, and you can actually see it's like an uneven pattern, which I didn't realize. It only lines up in one direction. Pressure plate up, and those million bolts tighten down. Okay, so sorry I forgot to film during this part just because I was getting pretty frustrated at this point because this was the first time I've ever done a job this significant, and it ended up being more work than I thought it was going to be. So on the DKM twin disc, you end up having a ton of bolts that go all the way around the outside that it takes a while to evenly torque them all down. And then since I didn't remove the subframe, I had to get very creative on being able to lift it back into the car. And since I work on them by myself, I don't have anybody else with enough experience. I had to kind of come up with my own way to lift it in straight and then tilt it back around. So obviously not the best way, but I made it work. And unfortunately, I didn't record putting all the bell housing bolts back in, but that's pretty self-explanatory. If you got everything taken apart, putting it all back in and tightening it down should be fairly easy. Okay, so here is kind of the view from behind the subframe. Sorry for the camera being a little shaky, I don't have any room. But basically you're gonna have to reach your hands under and then up and over. Same thing when you put the heat shield bolts, or sorry, nuts back on. But getting all the way up there is gonna be a huge pain. Probably won't be able to torque it, just use the old German spec of the Gotentight. That's essentially what I had to do. Okay, so here it is, basically all put back together, everything all buttoned up. I hope that the tips that I kind of went over in this video and some of the things that I showed you were helpful. If you're new to this kind of stuff, I recommend that you either find somebody that knows a lot about Volkswagens, or you basically save up the money and bring it in somewhere to have them do it for you, unless you want to have your car down for a long time and have a real learning experience with it.